In a quiet corner of the deep space mining ship Vanguard, there worked a young human named Ethan Cole. He wasn't like the others. Most crew members were loud, confident, and proud of their skills. But Ethan stayed silent. He worked as a simple maintenance worker, fixing broken panels, cleaning energy vents, and doing the small unnoticed jobs that kept the ship running. To everyone around him, he was just another low-level worker, quiet and ordinary. But what no one knew was that Ethan was far from ordinary. He had once studied at one of Earth's top engineering academies. He had built machines that could fix themselves and drones that could navigate asteroid storms. Yet after a terrible incident on his home planet, one that left him blamed for a failed experiment, Ethan had left Earth, hiding his real talents. Since then, he decided never to show his skills again. He worked in silence, keeping his eyes low and hands busy. When engines sputtered or circuits burned, he waited for others to call the senior engineers. He only stepped in when no one else was watching. In the privacy of dark maintenance corridors, he'd fix things faster than anyone else could, making it look like they had repaired themselves. It became his quiet habit, helping without being seen. One day, the Vanguard received an urgent distress call. The message came from deep within a part of space known as the Rift Zone, an area filled with shifting energy storms and lost ships. The call was faint but clear. It wasn't in any known human language. The captain decided to investigate, hoping it might be a stranded trade vessel. As the ship entered the Rift Zone, strange signals began to fill the air. Energy waves made the lights flicker. The communication screens glowed with symbols that no one could understand. The crew grew uneasy. The captain called for the science team to translate, but the symbols kept changing, like a living code. Ethan watched quietly from the corner of the control room. Something about those patterns caught his eye. They reminded him of an alien engineering code he once read about, something ancient and mechanical. Without thinking, he whispered, "It's a distress beacon, from a royal unit." A few crew members turned toward him in surprise. "What did you say?" one of them asked. Ethan froze. He hadn't meant to speak. Nothing, just guessing." But it was too late. The captain walked over. "You recognize this signal?" he asked firmly. Ethan hesitated. He didn't want attention. He didn't want questions. But the message was changing rapidly, turning into a cry for help. Finally, he nodded. "I think I can decode it, but I'll need to reroute the signal through the auxiliary grid." The captain frowned but gave a nod. "Do it." Within minutes, Ethan's hands moved across the console with precision. The crew watched as the scrambled symbols turned into clear language. The words that appeared on screen shocked everyone. Help. Trapped. Royal vessel breached. Queen injured. The bridge fell silent. The Vanguard had just received a distress call from a royal alien craft, something from the Cathar Dominion, a species rarely seen and feared by many. "Queen?" one officer whispered. "We can't get involved, they're too dangerous." But Ethan looked at the message again. There was pain and desperation in it, not the tone of an enemy. He quietly said, "She's not asking for war. She's asking for help." The captain sighed. "Prepare the rescue crew. We'll go in cautiously." Hours later, as the ship neared the coordinates, they found the alien vessel drifting, its hull torn and engines dead. Strange energy crystals floated around it. The rescue team hesitated, waiting for orders. Ethan stood in the background, watching the damaged ship. He could see from the shape of the fractures that its energy core was unstable. One wrong move and the entire ship would explode. He couldn't stay silent anymore. "If we don't stabilize that core within an hour, the Queen's ship will collapse," he said suddenly. The captain turned again. "And how do you know that?" Ethan looked down, unsure how to answer. "Because I've studied systems like that before." The crew stared at him with new eyes. For years they had thought he was just a quiet cleaner. Now there was something different, something sharp, confident, and deeply knowledgeable. The captain finally nodded. "Then you're coming with us." Ethan hesitated. His old life, his hidden skills, everything he'd buried was now coming back. He took a deep breath and followed. As they entered the alien ship, smoke filled the air. The walls pulsed with dim light. At the center, surrounded by guards, lay a tall figure, the alien queen herself. Her voice was weak but commanding. When her glowing eyes saw Ethan, she raised a trembling hand and whispered words that made the entire crew freeze. For a few seconds, no one spoke. The silence inside the alien ship was heavy, The air shimmered with faint blue mist and the damaged walls hummed like they were alive. Every crew member of the Vanguard stood frozen, unsure what had just happened. The alien queen's words echoed in their helmets. "He's my engineer." Ethan felt everyone's eyes on him. His heart pounded. He had never met this queen, never even seen her species in person. Yet she had spoken as if she knew him, as if they had shared a past. The captain took a cautious step forward. "Your Majesty, this human—" The queen's guard raised a hand, stopping him. "The queen has spoken," he said in a deep, metallic voice. If she claims him, he must assist. Ethan was still stunned. "Your Majesty, I don't understand. I've never worked for you." The queen's glowing eyes met his. She looked weak, but there was wisdom and sorrow in her expression. "Your designs. Your creations saved my people once," she said slowly. "We studied the blueprints left behind on the border world. The energy conduits, and they were yours." Ethan blinked. Years ago, before leaving Earth, he had built energy circuits that could power colonies in harsh environments. He had thought they were destroyed in the accident that ruined his career. He had never known they reached the stars and were another species. Realization hit him. They had used his designs. The queen struggled to rise, but a soft glow pulsed from her chest and she fell back. "My ship's heart is breaking," she whispered. "The core will collapse, unless it is rebuilt by the one who understands its pattern." Ethan looked toward the damaged reactor room. Through the cracked door, he could see sparks and flashing light. He could feel the pulse of unstable energy, a rhythm only a true engineer could understand. The captain placed a hand on his shoulder. "Ethan, are you sure about this?" "One mistake and we'll all be gone." Ethan nodded slowly. "If I don't go, she'll die. And the explosion might destroy everything nearby. I have to try." He stepped forward and 2 alien guards guided him to the control panel. The queen's voice was faint but clear. "You carry the mark of creation. Trust it." Ethan took a deep breath and entered the reactor chamber. The heat was intense. Streams of glowing energy twisted through the air like living threads searching for balance. The walls trembled. He moved quickly, his hands tracing symbols along the control plates, whispering calculations under his breath. Years of hidden training returned to him, every lesson, every design he had ever studied. His fingers danced over alien machinery, understanding its logic even though he had never seen it before. It was strange yet familiar, like meeting an old friend in a new form. Outside, the Vanguard crew watched the power readings drop from dangerous red to calm yellow. The queen's eyes flickered open again. "He is stabilizing it," her guard said. "No one else has ever done that." Ethan found the main conduit, a massive energy heart pulsing out of rhythm. He reached into his toolkit, pulling out a simple tool he had built himself. With careful hands, he adjusted the alignment of the crystal cores. For a moment, everything went still. Then, a low hum spread through the ship. The lights turned steady. The trembling stopped. Ethan stepped back, breathing heavily. "It's done," he whispered. The alien systems glowed softly, returning to life. The queen rose weakly from her throne-like seat. Her voice was stronger now. "You have restored the heart of my ship," she said, "and saved my life." The Vanguard crew stood speechless. The captain slowly lowered his weapon. "You did it, Ethan." "I don't believe it." Ethan just looked around, still trying to understand how the queen knew him. "Your Majesty," he said gently, "how did you know I was the one who made those designs?" "Humans never shared that data." The queen smiled faintly. "The stars speak in echoes. The energy you shaped carries your pattern. My kind can feel it. The moment I saw your touch in the machine, I knew it was you." Ethan lowered his head. He had tried to hide from his past, from his failures. Yet now, across the stars, his work had found him again and saved a queen. The captain finally spoke. "We should return to the Vanguard. Our duty is complete." But before they could move, the queen raised her hand. "No," she said softly. "He must come with me. He belongs to the stars now." The words hung in the air. Ethan looked at his crew, the only family he had known in years, and then at the queen, whose people had trusted his long-forgotten work. For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel like a failure. He felt seen, and though he didn't yet understand what fate awaited him, deep inside he knew his quiet life was over. A new path, one bound to the alien queen, had just begun. The silence between Ethan and the Queen stretched long after she spoke. Her words, "He belongs to the stars now," echoed in the quiet chamber. The Vanguard crew shifted uneasily, not sure what to do. They were explorers, not diplomats. None of them wanted to anger a royal figure from an alien empire. The captain took a careful step forward. "Your Majesty, with respect, this man is part of my crew. He saved your life. Surely he deserves the right to choose where he goes." The Queen's gaze softened as she looked at Ethan. Her eyes, glowing faintly with light from the reactor, reflected both strength and gratitude. "He carries knowledge that connects our worlds," she said. "He is not a servant, but a bridge." Ethan stood quietly, looking down at his hands. For years, those hands had hidden his true gift. Now they had drawn the attention of an alien queen. He didn't know what it meant to be a bridge, but deep inside something stirred. A spark that had been silent for too long. He finally spoke. "If I stay, what would you have me do?" The Queen tilted her head slightly. "My people are at war with time itself. Our ships grow weak. Our engineers are gone. You understand things we no longer remember. You could help rebuild what was lost." Ethan hesitated. The words touched something inside him. Back on Earth, no one had trusted him again after his failure. Here a queen was asking him to restore an empire. Before he could answer, the ship's sensors began to flash. A loud alarm filled the air. One of the alien guards shouted, "Enemy crafts approaching!" Multiple signatures. The captain's eyes widened. "Pirates?" The guard shook his head. "No, hunters. They track damaged vessels to steal their cores." The Queen's face grew firm. "They must not take this ship. It holds my people's last memory core." Ethan looked around quickly. "If their scanners detect us, they'll target the reactor." The captain turned to him. "Can you hide us?" Ethan studied the glowing walls and energy nodes. The alien technology was advanced, almost alive. It responded to touch and intention. He could feel the faint hum of its systems through his fingertips. "Maybe," he said. "If I can redirect the energy pulse," the Queen nodded. "Do what you must." Ethan moved fast. He connected his portable tool to the nearest control plate, linking human tech with alien design. Sparks jumped as the two systems struggled to sync. For a moment it seemed impossible, but then the lights dimmed, and the ship's hum changed pitch. Outside, the approaching hunter ships slowed. Their scanners swept through the rift zone but found nothing. The Queen's vessel had vanished from their sensors, hidden behind a veil of energy distortion. Ethan wiped the sweat from his forehead. "They won't see us, but we can't move for a while. The system needs to cool." The Queen nodded approvingly. "You learn our craft as if you were born to it." The captain stared at him, amazed. "Ethan, I didn't know you could do this." Ethan gave a small, tired smile. "Neither did I." When the danger passed, the Queen's guards guided her back to her throne chamber. She looked at Ethan again, her voice gentle. "You saved us twice in one day. Few beings can claim such a deed." Ethan felt uneasy under her gaze. "I only did what was needed." She studied him closely. "Humility is rare among creators. You hide not only your skills, but your light. Why?" He looked away, remembering his past, the explosion, the trial, the way everyone had turned their backs on him. "Because last time I showed what I could do, people got hurt." The Queen's eyes softened. "Creation and destruction share the same spark. Only those who understand loss can build wisely." Her words lingered in his mind. For the first time, someone had seen the truth behind his silence. Hours later, the Vanguard crew prepared to leave. The captain tried one last time to convince Ethan. "You don't owe them anything. You could come back with us. Start fresh." Ethan looked out the window at the stars beyond, endless, bright, and full of mystery. "Maybe starting fresh doesn't mean going back," he said quietly. "Maybe it means going forward." The captain nodded slowly. He understood. "If this is your choice, we'll honor it." As the Vanguard departed, Ethan stood beside the Queen on the viewing deck. The stars shimmered ahead like distant fires. She turned to him. "You walked among those who could not see your worth," she said. "Now you walk among those who do." Ethan took a deep breath. "Then let's see what I can build for you." The Queen smiled faintly, her voice steady and sure. "Together, engineer, we will rebuild the stars." Days passed aboard the alien Queen's vessel as it drifted through the rift zone, hidden from unfriendly eyes. Ethan spent his time exploring its corridors, learning how the ship worked. Everywhere he looked, he found signs of brilliant design, energy veins running through the walls like blood, panels that responded to thought, and machines that seemed almost alive. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, yet somehow he understood it. The Queen's people, the Cathar, were proud and quiet. They watched Ethan with cautious curiosity. To them, humans were still a mystery, a young species from the outer spiral of the galaxy. But as the days went by, they began to whisper among themselves. This human was different. He didn't boast or command. He worked with patience and respect. Each morning, Ethan met with the Queen in her chamber. She was slowly recovering from her injuries, though her strength had not fully returned. They spent hours talking about their worlds, Earth bright and blue, and Cathara, a planet of crystal skies and floating cities. "You humans build from the ground up," the Queen said one day, her eyes thoughtful. "You shape metal and fire, but we shape light and thought, yet both paths lead to creation." Ethan nodded. "Maybe our worlds are more alike than we think. We just use different tools." A faint smile touched her face. "Perhaps that is why destiny brought you here." But peace did not last long. One night, while Ethan worked deep in the ship's reactor hull, alarms began to ring again. The lights turned red and the ship shuddered violently. He grabbed onto a nearby console as the floor tilted. A Cathar guard rushed in. "Engineer, we are under attack." Ethan's heart jumped. "Who found us?" "Unknown fleet. They came through a rift breach. They're jamming our signals." Ethan ran toward the command bridge. The Queen was already there, standing tall despite her weakness. Through the viewing screen, Ethan saw several dark ships surrounding them, each marked with a crimson insignia. The Queen's voice was calm, but cold. "The Rift Raiders," she said. "They hunt what they do not understand." Ethan studied the enemy ships. They were powered by unstable energy, their movements wild and sharp. "Their weapons are based on phase distortion," he said quickly. "If we try to fight, their shots will tear through your shields. Then what do we do?" One of the guards demanded. Ethan looked at the shimmering blue veins running along the walls. The ship's energy network. He had an idea, risky but possible. "If we invert your shield pattern, it will confuse their targeting systems. They'll think we're in 3 places at once." The Queen tilted her head. "Can you do that?" Ethan smiled faintly. "I can try." He rushed to the control deck, opening a panel beneath the main console. His fingers moved quickly, rerouting energy lines and adjusting harmonics. Sparks flew and the air filled with the hum of raw power. The Queen watched silently. Her guards exchanged uncertain glances. No Cathar had ever dared to touch the heart circuits. Only the royal engineers could. Yet this human worked with the confidence of one born to it. "Almost there," Ethan muttered. "Just one more adjustment." Suddenly the ship lurched. A blast hit them from the side, shaking the hull. The Queen grabbed onto the armrest of her throne. "We cannot take another hit." "I know," Ethan shouted. "Just hold on." He twisted the final conduit. Instantly, a bright wave of light spread across the hull. From outside, the ship split into 3 ghostly images, each moving in a different direction. The raiders fired again, but their shots passed harmlessly through illusions. Confused, they began shooting wildly, hitting one another instead. Ethan exhaled, wiping sweat from his forehead. "That should keep them busy." The Queen's eyes glowed brighter. "Your mind bends light itself, remarkable." But the danger wasn't over. The raiders launched boarding pods, piercing through one of the illusion copies by chance. A warning flashed across the screen. "They've breached the lower deck." Ethan grabbed a tool from his belt and looked to the Queen. "Stay here. I'll handle it." The guard stepped forward. "It's too dangerous for a human." Ethan shook his head. "Danger's part of the job." He rushed down the corridor, reaching the lower deck just as the raiders broke through the airlock. They were tall, armored, and armed with plasma rifles. Ethan ducked behind a control pane. As a blast seared past him, he spotted a damaged pipe leaking energy steam. Quickly, he rewired a nearby panel and redirected the flow. In a flash, blue mist filled the hallway, shorting out the raiders' suits. They fell one by one, their armor crackling with sparks. When the last one collapsed, Ethan stepped forward, carefully breathing hard. The air was thick with smoke and heat. The Queen's voice came through the comm. "Engineer, report," Ethan smiled tiredly. "Deck secured. Raiders neutralized." "Excellent," she said softly. "You continue to surprise me, human." Ethan looked at his reflection in the dark glass of a console, a face once filled with doubt, now burning with purpose. For the first time, he felt like more than a shadow. He was no longer hiding, and somewhere deep in his heart, he knew. This was only the beginning of something far greater. After the attack, the Queen's ship floated silently in the rift zone. The Vanguard had already left, giving Ethan and the Queen space to recover. The ship hummed softly, the energy veins glowing with steady light, and for the first time in days there was a calm that felt almost like peace. Ethan sat beside the Queen in her chamber. She was resting on a cushioned platform, though her posture remained regal. Her voice was quiet, almost reflective. The hunters were relentless. They will return. You know this, do you not? Ethan nodded. Yes, but we learned something too. Your ship can fight in ways they don't expect, and your people have strength in their technology and in their spirit. With time, we can make it even stronger. The Queen's eyes shone faintly with a mix of pride and curiosity. And you, human, are willing to stay? Ethan looked out at the vast expanse of stars. For a long moment, he said nothing. He remembered hiding on Earth, avoiding attention, avoiding responsibility. But now here, among stars and an alien people who trusted his skills, he felt alive. I didn't choose this at first, he admitted. But now, I want to see it through. If I can help, I will. The Queen inclined her head. Then you have my blessing. In the days that followed, Ethan worked tirelessly. He traveled through the ship's lower decks, repairing engines, rerouting energy conduits, and upgrading systems with clever designs the Cathar had never imagined. He taught them human techniques, showing how simple ideas could enhance their complex technology. The Cathar engineers watched him with awe, quickly learning from his methods. One evening, while adjusting a power relay, Ethan noticed a flicker in the energy core. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but he recognized the pattern. A resonance shift, he muttered. The core is unstable. If not corrected, it could shut down part of the ship. A young Cathar engineer hesitated nearby. Engineer, it is dangerous. Only the Queen may authorize a direct adjustment. Ethan smiled faintly. Then we'll let her know. But waiting too long will be worse. He called the Queen to the reactor chamber. She arrived, supported by 2 guards, her expression calm but alert. What troubles you, human? Ethan pointed to the core. The resonance is drifting. We need to realign the conduits immediately. The Queen studied the readings and nodded. Proceed. I trust your judgment. With her approval, Ethan worked with precision. He connected alien circuits to his portable tool, creating a hybrid system that stabilized the core. Sparks danced, the air vibrated, and the core's glow pulsed steadily. Within minutes, the ship hummed in perfect rhythm again. The Queen observed him silently. You carry wisdom beyond your kind. You do not fear responsibility, yet you carry humility. That is rare among engineers, human. Ethan shrugged, though he felt a quiet pride. I've learned the hard way that mistakes can cost lives. I want to prevent that whenever I can. The Queen's eyes softened. Your humanity is your strength. It is why you were chosen. Later, Ethan stood on the observation deck, looking at the rift zone. The stars sparkled like scattered jewels across the darkness. He had never felt so small and so important at the same time. Here in the middle of the galaxy, he had purpose. He had a place. The Queen appeared beside him, her presence quiet but powerful. The hunters will return. Next time, they will come with greater numbers. We must prepare, Ethan nodded. Then we will be ready. I'll design defenses, teach your people faster response systems, and ensure the ship can defend itself without relying solely on the crew. She glanced at him, a faint smile appearing. I have never known a human to act with such clarity and courage. You are remarkable, Ethan. For the first time, he allowed himself to believe it. The shame of his past, the fear of failure, all of it had been left behind. Now every choice he made mattered, and it could save lives. The Queen turned back to the stars. Soon you will see how far your mind can reach, human. Together we will restore what was lost. Together we will reclaim the skies. Ethan felt a surge of determination. Then let's start. We don't have much time. As he returned to the reactor hall ready to continue his work, he realized that hiding his skills had once been a shield. Now those same skills were a beacon. He would not shy away. He would not hide. He was the engineer, the bridge between worlds, the spark that could save a species. And for the first time in his life, Ethan smiled without hesitation. He had found purpose. He had found trust. And the galaxy had just begun to witness what he could truly achieve. The quiet days did not last long. Ethan had barely completed upgrades on the Queen's ship when the warning sirens blared again. This time the threat was unmistakable. Multiple signatures appeared on the scanners, faster and more coordinated than the Hunter's last attack. Ethan's heart sank. "They are back," the Queen said calmly, though her glowing eyes betrayed concern. "And they bring more than before." Ethan studied the approaching vessels. "They've learned from their last failure," he said. "They will target the reactor first, then attempt boarding maneuvers. We need a plan. Fast." The Cathar crew looked at him expectantly. For months, they had seen Ethan as an engineer and a problem solver. But now, in the face of danger, they would follow his instructions without question. He moved to the main console, fingers flying across alien controls. "We'll use a layered defense," he explained. "First, the decoys, they'll confuse sensors. Second, energy dampeners to disrupt projectile weapons. Finally, the conduits. We can reroute excess power to create defensive pulses if they board." The Queen nodded. "Do it, I trust your strategy." Hours passed as Ethan coordinated the preparations. He ran simulations, rerouted energy lines, and taught the crew to respond to every possible move the enemy could make. Sweat ran down his forehead, but he did not falter. Each adjustment he made was precise, combining human intuition with alien technology. Finally, everything was ready. The enemy fleet emerged from the rift breach. Larger than before, their ships black and jagged, weapons glowing red. The Cathar ship shuddered as the first shots were fired. Ethan held his breath. "Activate decoys," he shouted. Energy pulses shot out from hidden nodes, creating holographic duplicates of the ship. Enemy sensors were confused, weapons missing their mark. "Projectiles hit nothing but empty space. They cannot see us," one of the guards shouted, astonished. Ethan didn't celebrate. "Keep focus. They'll try to adapt. We need the dampeners ready." Energy fields shimmered across the hull, disrupting incoming shots. Sparks flew as the alien shields merged with human modifications. The enemy was slowed, their formations breaking apart. Ethan's pulse raced. He had done simulations on Earth, but this was real. Lives hung in the balance. Then small boarding pods fired from the enemy ships, cutting through the decoys and moving toward the lower decks. Ethan ran to the reactor chamber. "We can't let them reach the core." He opened a panel and rerouted power through emergency conduits. Blue light surged, creating pulses along the hallway. The raiders entered, only to be thrown back by the force. Smoke filled the corridors, their armor failing against the sudden surge of energy. The Queen appeared behind him. "You risk too much," she said, concern in her voice. Ethan glanced at her. "If the core fails, everyone dies. This is the only way." Hours passed like minutes. The enemy tried every tactic, but Ethan's adjustments kept the ship safe. Each pulse, each rerouted circuit, each defensive measure bore the mark of human ingenuity, combined with alien technology. Finally, the remaining enemy vessels retreated, their formations broken, their engines failing in the rift's turbulence. The ship stabilized. Silence fell heavy and complete. The Queen's eyes glowed brightly. "You have saved my people once again, not with weapons, but with your mind." Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. "I just did what needed to be done." Her voice softened. "No, human. You did more than that. You showed courage, creativity, and the spirit to act when others feared. That is why I chose you." For the first time, Ethan felt the weight of his past lift. He had hidden his skills for fear of failure, for fear of judgment. But here, across the stars, his talents had saved lives. Not just his own, not just one person, but an entire species. The Cathar crew cheered quietly, not out of exuberance, but with deep respect. Their faith in Ethan was complete. They no longer saw him as a foreigner or a simple human. He was one of them, a master of technology, a protector, and a symbol of hope. Ethan walked to the observation deck, looking out at the stars scattered across the rift zone. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and infinite possibilities. For the first time, he did not feel small. He was part of something greater than himself. The Queen appeared beside him, her glow steady. "The hunters will return," she said, "and the galaxy will test you again." Ethan met her gaze. "Let them come. We'll be ready. I'll make sure of it." She studied him for a long moment, her voice quiet but firm. Your heart is as strong as your mind, human. That is rare. That is why you will survive and why my people will thrive. Ethan allowed himself a small, confident smile. For the first time, he knew his hidden talents had a place in the universe. He was no longer hiding. He was no longer afraid. He was a human among the stars and an engineer, a protector, and a bridge between worlds, and deep inside, he felt it. This was only the beginning. The galaxy was quiet, but Ethan knew the peace was only temporary. The hunters had retreated, but their defeat would not be forgotten. Already their influence spread across the rift zone, searching for new prey. The Queen's ship hummed with energy, repaired and stronger than ever, yet danger lingered like a shadow. Ethan stood on the observation deck studying the stars. The vastness of space, once a place of fear, now felt like a canvas. He thought about Earth, his hidden life, the years of silence and shame. None of it mattered here. Here he was seen. Here his skills had value and his mind could change the course of a species. The Queen joined him, her glow steady and reassuring. The hunters will not forget. They will strike again, Ethan nodded. Then we will be ready. This ship, your people, we can defend them. We can even take the fight to them if we must. She looked at him with something like pride. You have learned more than survival, human. You have learned purpose. The next weeks were filled with preparation. Ethan worked tirelessly, not only on repairs but on innovation. He taught the Cathar to combine their advanced energy systems with human engineering techniques. He built automated defenses, improved shields, and created rapid response systems for the ship. Each invention made the crew more confident, and each success made Ethan more aware of his own strength. Finally, the day came. Scouts reported that the hunters had gathered a fleet near the outer rim of the rift zone. Their numbers were far greater than before, their ships sleek and menacing. The Cathar grew tense, but the Queen's voice was calm. Engineer, she said, you will lead the defense. Your knowledge will guide us, Ethan swallowed. The responsibility was immense. Lives depended on his decisions, but he no longer hesitated. He had hidden for too long. Now was the moment to act. He stood at the command console, issuing orders with clarity and precision. The ship responded like a living entity, energy flowing through every corridor, every panel, every weapon system. The Cathar followed him without question. Together they became more than a crew. They became a force united by purpose. The hunters arrived and the battle began. Red blasts of energy streaked across the dark expanse, lighting up the stars. The Queen's ship moved with a grace that belied its size, guided by Ethan's calculations. Decoys shimmered, shields pulsed, and energy barriers flared, deflecting attacks that would have destroyed ordinary vessels. Ethan coordinated every maneuver, every counterattack. His mind raced, predicting enemy patterns, adjusting strategies in real time. He felt alive in the chaos. Every decision mattered, every action had weight. Then the hunter sent a massive strike toward the ship's reactor. Ethan acted instantly, rerouting power through emergency conduits, creating a surge that neutralized the attack. The Cathar cheered quietly, but Ethan didn't smile. The battle was not yet over. Using a combination of human tactics and alien technology, Ethan devised a trap. He lured the enemy fleet into a narrow sector of the rift zone, where swirling energy storms could disorient them. Then, with precise timing, he activated the ship's pulse generators. Waves of concentrated energy struck the hunters' ships, disabling engines and weapons alike. One by one, their fleet fell into chaos. When the last enemy vessel fled, silence returned. The stars shimmered as if nothing had happened, but Ethan and the Cathar knew the truth. They had survived against impossible odds. The Queen approached Ethan, her expression solemn yet glowing. You have done more than save my ship, she said. You have saved my people, my legacy, and the future of our empire. Ethan looked around at the Cathar crew. Their eyes shone with admiration and trust. For the first time in his life, he felt truly worthy. I just did what I could, he said quietly. The Queen smiled. You did more. You embraced your gift when the galaxy needed it most. That is the mark of a true engineer and the mark of a hero. Ethan's chest swelled with pride. He had hidden his talents for so long, afraid of failure. Now he had used them to protect and inspire. Humanity, fragile and often underestimated, had proven its worth across the stars. The Queen turned toward the observation deck, gesturing to the vast expanse of space. The galaxy is wide and full of challenges, but with minds like yours, Ethan, we can meet them all. He nodded, feeling a surge of determination. Then let's face them together, not as human and alien, but as allies, as engineers of a new future. The stars stretched infinitely before them, bright and full of possibility. Ethan realized that hiding had been the past, survival was the present, and now purpose was the future. He had found his place in the universe, not as a shadow, but as a force of creation. And for the first time, he knew one thing for certain: no matter what challenges came, humanity had a spark that could not be ignored. The story of Ethan Cole, the hidden engineer, ended not in silence but in triumph. He had crossed the stars, gained trust, and forged bonds stronger than fear. Humanity, through him, had made its mark, and the galaxy would never forget it.